Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another segment of Asaph Cafe. I am your host, Asaph Adonai, and affectionately on my left, our aging rocker Emmett. And this time we have placed ourselves on the set of Alice in Wonderland.
Yep.
You can see the Mad Hatter on the right of your screen, and of course, lovely Alice in the middle. And Briar Rabbit, I think was his name.
You know, I haven't read the book in so long. I do have a book, the whole thing, illustrated, beautifully done, beautiful illustrations. I haven't read that in years, and I also have Alice with the Looking Glass. I love both of them. I've never seen the Disney version, and I don't think I'd care to. It looks so corny and so silly and so Disney-ish when Alice in Wonderland was a beautiful children's fairy tale. If you could even call that, as more almost adult, sophisticated political literature against the Queen of England. Back then, they couldn't say anything bad against the Queen of England.
Yeah. Okay.
You would lose your head, but he had to make the political satire of the aristocracy and the politics of the day in a child's dream named Alice, and she dreamed about meeting the Queen of England, who was the Queen of Hearts, and off of their head, and everyone acting crazy, because the aristocracy and the royalty acted crazy, and even their caucus races, the whole politicians. I don't know who the Mad Hatter represented.
Well,
or who
we'll
the
get
rabbit.
into that in a little bit, but before we go any further, let's have you start us off.
Heavenly Father, bless our food and time together in Jesus' name.
Okay, now let's talk about the Alice in Wonderland. Now, I never read the book, so I can't comment on the book. This is the Disney version, which was the first Mad Hatter, and from what I remember, this is a girl who liked to read, if I remember correctly, in the cartoon. And she goes off into one of her episodes of the book she has read, which is Alice in Wonderland, I believe. She goes into Wonderland, if I'm saying that correctly. Now, it's been a long time since I've seen this. I could be dead wrong.
I've never seen it, but I'm going to have to reread the book again. I can't remember if she liked to read.
She did, from what I remember. Alice liked to read a lot.
Yeah, but I don't remember book Alice in Wonderland. I remember she drifted off to sleep,
Yes,
and was very sleepy because she had a teen, whatever, and she went into this place down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Then it turned out she woke up and she told her sister all about the dream. This was in the book.
Okay.
They may have done something different with the movie. You know, I'll have to reread the book again.
I really don't know. I'd have to get re-familiar with this.
Yeah, I'd have to reread the book at somewhere at home. Beautifully illustrated. I got one back in Walden Books, when the Walden Books used to be in Missoula, you know.
But anyway, these are the characters, the Mad Hatter, and I think that's Briar Rabbit. But they had a lot more characters on there. And it's all those Disney movies, they were just fun. They were just fun for your children. Maybe a little corny by
They even did kind of a lousy job on, what is it, Peter Pan, because I have Peter Pan, the novel, and I loved Peter Pan. They did a beautiful live-action one in around 2002, 2003, which was much more accurate to the book.
You talking about a movie? Was that the one with Robin Williams and Dustin Hoffman?
No,
that wasn't called Peter Pan. That was called Hook.
Yeah, this was an actual live with a little kid, live action. It wasn't even the Disney one from the 40s.
Okay.
It was completely different.
I guess I'm not aware.
It was beautiful. Yeah.
Well, getting back to Hook, what's interesting about that movie, Robin Williams plays Peter Pan.
And he grew
up.
But
at the beginning, he was grown, so he wasn't really, what you call childlike. I think he had a family or something.
Yes, he did. He finally grew up and left Neverland.
Yeah, that's at the beginning.
Yes.
But he gets his interest resurrected again, you might say, in the film, where he goes back to being Peter Pan. And Dustin Hoffman plays Hook, Captain Hook. It was just a kind of an interesting twist on that film. But getting back to this Disney version here, it was just a fun children's show, and they had all these characters here, and it was just a lot of fun. Just a lot of fun. Now, for the television audience, yesterday was Valentine's Day, February 14th, and I didn't do anything special.
Nor did I, yeah.
I just watched television, worked on those news stories that I've been doing lately, and had a lot of fun. And for the TV audience that doesn't know, I am attempting to get a job with ABC News, and I got the opportunity to send, I sent 4 DVDs yesterday. I sent 2 to Good Morning America, and I sent 2 to ABC News in New York. And we'll just see what's going to happen. Because that's my goal. I want to tell stories. I've been doing a series of stories called Asaph Adonai stories that people can look up. And I've done stories like on Bob Barker, Land of the Giants, Pert Kelton, who was the first actress to ever play Alice Cranbin on The Honeymooners before Audrey Meadows. And just those kind of stories, just those informative, fun stories. Today's story was on a television show called The Mod Squad. And that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to go back in time to the 60s. We're going to talk about the hippie era.
Yes.
And the television show The Mod Squad fit into that that era. But let's talk about the Mod Squad for a second here. As I mentioned on the story here, and this will be fun. The Mod Squad is an American crime drama series, and it ran on ABC from 1968 to 1973. It starred 3 actors. Michael Cole, that was his name in real life. He was the main character. He played a character called Pete Cochran. And then there was Peggy Lipton, that's her name in real life. She played Julie Barnes. And the African-American actor Clarence Williams III, he played Link in this series, Link Hayes. And basically what the synopsis of this is, they're troubled youths. And they had a lot of that in the 60s. You know?
Oh, yeah.
And so, instead of them going to jail, they are put to work by Captain Adam Greer of the police force. He puts them to work undercover since they're teenagers. And so they never fired a weapon on the series, and they don't arrest people. They just go and infiltrate, and then the authorities take over after these kids infiltrate. So that was kind of a different twist on the crime drama. Kind of tamed by some of the dramas they have today. But it was just a fun show. Now, to get more specific, Michael Cole, his character, he's this rich kid that lives in Beverly Hills, and he steals a car, so his parents kick him out of the house. That's how he got into trouble. And then Clarence Williams' character, Link, he's involved in the Watts riots, so he gets in trouble there. And Peggy Lipton's character, Julie, her mother was running a prostitution ring, and Julie's character didn't want to have any part of that, so she gets arrested for vagrancy just to escape. That's the premise of the show. You know, the 3 characters, what their background was. They're taken by their mentor, Captain Adam Greer, who's played by Ty Andrews. And he mentors these kids and teaches them how to become detectives, undercover detectives, instead of being locked up. So that's the synopsis of the show pretty much. And they just deal with issues of the time, whatever that time period was, that hippies movement.
Yep.
And I have nothing against hippie people.
Nor do I.
I'm just talking about that time period.
Yes.
There. And from these notes that I have here, I think it talks about, here are some of the things that it covered, like the Vietnam War, racism, which is always
a
big deal, illegal drug trade, slumlords, anti-war movement, things like that.
You mean the Mod Squad?
Yeah, the television show. Yeah.
Amazing! I never even watched it. Didn't even know. I thought it was just a show about cops and robbers.
No. This show was kind of groundbreaking.
That's pretty cool. I did not know that.
He covered, because there was a lot of protests.
Oh yeah.
In that time period.
I probably would have joined them. I wouldn't have smoked dope or done any of the free love or anything, but I probably would have been a hippie. I probably would have been a hippie.
Yeah, well, there were a lot of that, and there were a lot of performers in that time period too. The Mamas and the Papas, and I guess Bob Dylan, and you know, those folk singers.
Exactly. Yeah.
What is it? Peter, Paul, and Mary.
Oh,
I don't know
yeah.
if you know them. And just all those other people in that era. So the Mod Squad fits into that era, but it was a crime drama.
Interesting.
And Julie's character wore a flower in her hair on occasion, and she played the kind of hippie,
cool,
undercover detective. So it fit for that time.
Yeah, I probably would have been protesting the Vietnam War myself. I've often thought what I've read about that decade, because remember in 1969, December the 11th, 1969, I was only 2 years old, so I missed the whole thing.
You know, the type protesting, it wasn't like that hardcore protesting like you see on CBS News or something. It was just kind of fitting that the that program, if I had to describe it.
Yeah, exactly.
It was like mild.
Uh-huh.
It wasn't none of this
Yeah.
heavy heart stuff like in the civil rights era when they were spraying people.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Not that kind of.
Mm-hmm.
This was more just a teenage,
Yeah.
Reaching teenagers, high school,
I love
college, that sort of light, more mild.
Cool.
But it was a fun show.
Yeah.
And they had terms like groovy,
Yeah,
bigot, pad, referring to the house. You want to come to my pad?
Yeah.
And it's so outdated by 20 standards today. And solid was another one.
Mm-hmm.
And keep the faith.
Mm-hmm.
So those were just terms that the character Link always
Yeah.
said. And they always have these, what they call it, slang.
Oh, yeah.
That was the slang of that time period for this show.
Yes, indeed.
Which is tame. So I just wanted to share that with you.
Do you remember, and it's on the internet, I thought I had it in my stack of videotapes, I'm sure I have it somewhere buried, I have so many videotapes, where Lawrence Welk had just been picked up by ABC again, or a syndicate or something, and he was in such good spirits, and I have the actual picture in his book, 1 and 2 of My Life with My Musical Family, where he dressed up as a hippie.
Oh, I remember that, yeah.
Wasn't that hilarious, folks?
I thought it was.
I loved it.
He got a lot of heat for that.
He did. A lot of his audience were, especially even the live one, they couldn't see it very well. They thought, there's another one gone bad. And a lot of people were kind of cold to him, and it took a while for his audience to warm up. And I thought it was hilarious, because he did a whole chapter about that. When I saw that, because what they were doing, they were opening up with a polka, dun 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 dun.
Right.
And here Lawrence came in, dressed in a wig, hippie clothes, hippie glasses.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then it was so funny, and it's like,
and that was just at the beginning of the
That
program.
was at the beginning.
And he only did it for a moment, then he took it off.
Yes, exactly.
And I thought it was funny and fun.
Yes.
But that's that time period, the older generation.
Yeah.
I think it's a generational thing because each generation, they do their thing. When they get older, the kids do something else, and then the kids look at the older generation like they're squares.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Exactly.
And so with Lawrence Welk, when he did that, it was just for a moment at the beginning of his program. Then he had his suit tie.
Yeah.
And did the episode, and that was the end of it. But the press at that time just didn't leave it alone, and the people who complained about that, which I thought was so unfair.
Yeah.
And
it was just a joke. It's funny. It's to liven it up.
It was like, lighten up, folks,
Yeah, you don't be serious. Yeah, anyway, he said, Wait, stop the music, stop. Don't you cats know that polka music is from Squaresville? I can't stand that kind of music. Well, you've heard about the Beatles, the Toidles. We have our own singing soul group, something in the Babbling Baboons, and they tried to play hippie music and dance around like hippies, and then some of the cast said, hey, Lawrence, we're protesting you. Have you flipped your baby? Don't you remember all the wonderful champagne music? I said, well, I don't know what. What are you doing? There's nothing wrong with me. I said, well, if you're protesting, what are you gonna do? And she said, this is what we're gonna do. And they took his glasses and his hippie outfit, and he was in the suit and the tie, and then he said, everyone was applauding. He said, well, folks, that's a sampling of what we're not going to do on the show. We're going to keep our format, and that is not what we're going to do.
Having fun
with it.
But you know how the press is.
Yeah.
They make a big deal out of almost nothing.
Yeah.
The press.
Yeah. I didn't see the press coverage, but I know when he wrote in his book, a lot of the old people, like even when he would do it on a live stage show, they couldn't really see the dancers or the performers. They thought, there's another one gone bad, and a lot of them sat on their hands and were scowling. It's like, why? It was supposed to be a joke. I got it the first time. I thought it was funny as heck.
I got it too.
But a lot of the old people, they didn't like that. They didn't think that was funny. I thought it was hilarious. And it worked for that time, at least I thought.
I thought it was amusing too myself.
Yeah. I just loved it. It was funny. If you can ever Google that up, Lawrence Welk Goes Hippie, or something to that effect, you could see it, and that was funny.
Yeah, it was just in good spirit. But that came out in that time period too.
Yeah, it did, yeah.
But getting back to the Mod Squad, that was just your average teenage kind of, well, the characters that they played, even though they were probably older in real life, they were playing basically these young, like, teenage to early adults in the film, and it was popular. It ran for 5 seasons. It
I did not know that.
Yeah.
The Modern Squad, I guess that was short for the Modern Squad.
Well, I don't know. They just called it the Mod Squad because it has that kind of hippie.
Yeah, exactly.
Flavor.
Amazing.
But yeah, they never used a gun on the series. They never fired a weapon. They never used a gun. They always caught bad guys just using their minds.
Interesting.
Yeah, and that was interesting about the series too. And they got into trouble.
Oh yeah.
Because like the villains and bad guys, they were like older, like adults.
Mm-hmm.
So they'd get in trouble, like maybe get kidnapped or knocked out or something. But overall, they would catch bad guys.
Interesting.
And it's a cool concept if you think about it, that these young people can get into the world that the police, the older police and the regular authorities couldn't get into. These kids could infiltrate that. But then when they did, they didn't arrest anybody. They'd break through, and then the authorities would come to where they're at and do the arrests. If that makes any sense. So, and I forget what year that show came out originally. Let me see if it's
1968.
Yeah, 1968. And I was something like 9 years old or 10 years old, whatever. But it was just an interesting show. One black, one white, and one blonde.
Interesting.
Think of that. That's kind of a cultural thing in itself.
It is, yes.
Intermixing or
yes.
I can't think of the word, but it wasn't a segregated kind of thing.
It was an interracial type of show, kind of like Star Trek.
Yeah, and speaking of Star Trek, according to these notes here, the Mod Squad had impact on shows like Star Trek, Room 222, we'll get to that in a moment, The Flip Wilson Show, Mission Impossible, the original Mission Impossible, and see what it was is these shows that I mentioned, they featured African American actors in lead roles or next to lead roles. It wasn't a stereotypical like in the old days where they were playing just maids and stuff. They were playing main characters like Link on the Mod Squad, main characters. And of course, Lieutenant Uhura's character on Star Trek, main character. Now, Room 222, you probably won't remember that show or know that show. This was a show in around that 60s era too, and it was a high school. So it dealt with what high school students go through because it was a high school show called Room 222.
Interesting.
And the teacher was an African American. Lloyd Hayes was an African American actor, and his character was groundbreaking. He was like one of the lead characters. But see what I'm saying is Mod Squad kind of impacted all these other shows that got these African Americans to play either lead roles or near lead roles. And the Flip Wilson Show, that was a variety show like the Carol Burnett Show, if I could describe it, or the Dean Martin Show.
Interesting.
Flip Wilson was the very first African American to host a variety show. That came out in that time period too.
Interesting.
Now a lot of people probably won't remember Flip Wilson, but it was the #1 show on television in its time, early 70s, late 60s, early 70s, something like that. And of course, Mission Impossible, they had Greg Morris, the electronics genius that could get in there and set things up, booby trap this, whatever. It was groundbreaking. All those shows, but it came from the Mod Squad pretty much.
Interesting. Did you, speaking of Star Trek in the 1960s, one of my favorite episodes was This Way to Eden.
I remember that one.
That one was a wonderful show, and I loved their
music.
music.
Let's see if I can figure out how to play that song.
Eden, brother, heading out to Eden. Yea, brother, no more troubles in my body or my mind.
Yeah, I'll figure it out.
Gonna live like a king on whatever I find. Eat all the fruit and throw away the rind. Yea, brother.
Yeah, remember that? Yeah.
I loved that.
Well, I just picked that out just now. If I practice, I can add more notes.
I loved that song. I even loved it the first time I saw it when I was a teenager, like 16 years old. I could resonate with that. I could resonate with that. And
but that was kind of a hippie's flair.
It was. It was.
They called him Herbert.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
But that was a generational thing that
it was.
Era.
It was.
And they had groups like the Mamas and the Papas. They had a song that went like this. You might know it.
I've heard it. I think on the easy listening station I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
California Dreaming.
Yeah, yeah. Well, even Gordon Lightfoot and Neil Diamond and John Denver were starting out, I think in the 60s or the early 70s, kind of around that era. Now, I never listened to the hippie music of the 60s. I wouldn't have been into all that drugs or the immoral stuff, but what I would have done is had long hair, believed in God, and protested against the war, and believed we should love each other and hug each other as men and cry openly and protest the man in the establishment. That would have been me.
Well, yeah, I agree with you about the immoral aspect. I don't have a problem with that culture.
Nor do I.
There's a lot of free love going on, and I think it just spread VD and all that. Bad.
Yeah.
And I was just listening to the Christian radio just yesterday. They were talking about purity, saving yourself.
Yes.
For marriage, and I know that sounds archaic.
I know.
By today's standards, but they were saying that people who don't wait till marriage, they end up in divorce anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Or the young lady feels violated.
Yeah.
Because they weren't married and they get married, and she gets to thinking about that.
Yeah.
We consummated before we got married, and there's no sacred or beauty.
Exactly.
There's no, waiting, and then there's your lovely bride.
Yeah.
And so this Mod Squad, it just dealt with those issues.
Fascinating.
Maybe not so much the waiting till marriage aspect, but it covered, I guess, consequences, things like that.
Wonderful.
It was pretty groundbreaking in its time. The Mod Squad.
Even from 1986 to 1988 or so, I had pretty long hair. Did I ever tell you that? Maybe that's something new. I wanted to be a hippie, but I didn't know how because I'd read about it in history class. I had my slacks and regular boots and a white t-shirt, but I was trying to have it a long beard and let my hair grow long and my beard, or actually all I have is a goatee, let that grow as long as I could. And man, I just wanted to be peaceful. I even had a bandana and that kind of thing. It wasn't working very well anyway.
Really?
Well, I didn't have I didn't have the jeans, and I didn't have the hippie clothes or hippie beads. So obviously it wasn't working out. I had a little button that I wore sometimes saying the best government is no government and that kind of thing, and the only good government is.
I guess some people feel that way.
And I got a lot of heat from it. A lot of people didn't like it, and they called me a hippie freak. Hey, you hippie there, person. I didn't mind, and I was into the peace and social justice type of thing.
But that's a outdated time period now.
It is.
People don't wear afros anymore in the African American world. People don't wear the bell bottoms and flowers unless maybe you go to some remote city somewhere that no one's never heard of and they want to stay. Nostalgia or whatever.
Yeah. Well, the only reason I cut my hair and my beard was because my boss at work when I was working at 4B said, if you want to keep your job, you got to cut your hair and trim your beard. I said, okay. I kind of felt just being a pacifist, turn the other cheek, hippie, love type of thing. Okay, that's okay. I'll cooperate. Let's live together in peace and social justice, bro. Mm-hmm. She was kind of like Herbert, but I didn't say that to her face, but I said, okay, and she was kind of shocked. She said there were complaints by the other customers of the way I looked. Mm-hmm. I think she was upset. She was afraid of me. She was chagrined that I cut my hair and beard voluntarily, and was okay about that and returned to work. She didn't say another thing ever. She thought that he was either going to a drunken thing and say, you can't talk to me that way, or take a chainsaw and go, really harm people. She was afraid of me because she thought I was dangerous. Because of the way I looked, my hair, my beard. She thought that automatically meant I was dangerous.
Well, see, that's our culture. They go by physical looks.
Exactly. When I was trying to be a peace-loving hippie involved in social justice issues, completely opposite of Charles Manson or anything like that. But she thought, well, it meant dangerous, criminal. Isn't that crazy? That's just ridiculous. But
I know.
Yeah.
But that's our culture.
Yeah. But then I went punk a few years later. I really didn't have an identity, and I realized this peace and love isn't working because, you're just going to fold to the man anyway, but once punk came along, I was ready for that,
But I think you'll like this Mod Squad series if you ever get to see it.
Yeah, interesting.
It might be a little outdated by today's standard, but if you go back in time and use your imagination and watch it, I think there's a lot of things you could relate to.
Yeah. Do they have it on MeTV or not?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
You probably have to look it up on
YouTube
these days. I mean, this show has just fallen off into obscurity.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I brought it back to life on today's
Yes.
Adonai stories. And I don't think anybody's going to remember the Mod Squad anyway.
Yeah, it's absolutely.
As far as the younger generations and just the world of television.
Yeah. I never watched it. I never really watched. I've heard of it.
It just really fell off into obscurity.
Yeah.
Now, of course, some of the surviving shows are shows like Law and Order. That's been on, 20 years.
Oh, Law and Order SVU. That's a great show. It's totally
it's
different, but that was
interesting.
great.
Law and Order has a bunch of different Law and Orders.
I know they do.
The
Even
original-
Chicago
there was the
PD,
original-
yeah.
Well, first there was the original Law and
Yeah.
Order with the actor that played Mr. McCoy.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had SVU, and they had Criminal Intent,
Mm-hmm.
and they had the other one with B.B. Besh. I think that's her name. The actress that was on Frasier.
Yes.
She was a lead role. The one that was married to
Mm-hmm.
Frasier Crane. That actress,
Mm-hmm.
B.B. I can't remember her last name, but anyway, she played a lead role in one of the Law and Order
Mm-hmm.
series. But where I'm going with that is there's so many different types of Law and Order.
I know.
And it's just an enduring show. Whereas the Mod Squad just kind of
Yeah,
fell off into
interesting.
oblivion. But that's why I decided to bring it back, just to have fun with it.
I think that's
I
wonderful.
don't think anybody will remember when they see that story when it airs later on today.
Mm-hmm.
But
Didn't All in the Family deal with those generational issues too in the 60s or not?
sort of, more the 70s.
Yeah.
Let's figure this out. Let's see.
Yeah, I remember watching that with my parents when I was 5 years old. Even some of it was funny. I thought it was funny, but I always thought Archie Bunker was such a grumpy person, you know. I wasn't the biggest fan of Archie Bunker, you know. I thought, what a grump, you know. I didn't understand all the social things because I was only 5 years old, but I thought, this guy is a real grouch, man.
This is the theme song.
Yep.
Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll talk about him in a second.
Yep.
Something
Yeah.
like that. That was
Yeah.
the theme.
Mhm.
But Archie's character, like we're talking about, he didn't like hippies either. He's
Yeah.
like in that
Yeah,
behind
definitely.
that era.
Yeah.
Let's see, he just was so,
Yeah.
what's the word?
Conformist?
Something like that.
Yeah,
Your
and-
hair had to be cut behind your
Yes.
ears.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't like Jewish people. He didn't like African American people. He didn't even like certain white people. He just was like that.
He was a
character.
bigot. He was a bigot,
He was just
yeah.
that character. But he was the perfect actor to play that. And
Yeah.
I'm sure I'd never met Carroll O'Connor. I'm sure he was a fine.
Oh, yeah,
person,
definitely.
Just a friendly. But
Mm.
in fact, he's connected with the university here.
Did not know that. Is he still alive?
No, he's gone.
I thought so, yeah.
Yeah, if you go into the fine arts building
Uh-huh.
here, you'll see his
Mhm.
picture. He
Mhm.
used to teach acting classes at the university.
Mm-hmm.
Just a wonderful person.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that was probably hard for him to play
Oh,
that
yeah.
character. Archie Bunker is a really nasty
Yeah, he was.
character. Ugh,
Yeah.
goodness. But Norman Lear, the creator, he was just making a statement
Exactly.
in that time period, kind
Uh-huh.
of similar to the Mod Squad.
Yeah, yeah.
They were. I think Norman Lear was just getting a message across.
Exactly.
How stupid racism is.
Yeah.
How stupid this particular issue of that time period.
Yeah.
Which is tame compared to today.
Yeah.
But that's the way it was then.
Mm-hmm.
And I assume you could probably, I don't know, maybe go to Rock and Rudy's and order the Mod Squad. I
Oh,
guess,
yeah,
or
something.
Or Amazon maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But again, if you ever do get to see this series, you have to remember how outdated it is.
Yeah.
It's from that time
Mhm.
period. But it was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can't believe I was dating myself with the Mod Squad.
Yeah.
I was only about 9 years
Yeah.
old or whatever when I used to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure these actors, they must have had a lot of fun doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Now I wanted to talk about, what's his name? Look him up. Oh, they had kind of a, similar to Star Trek, they had a interracial kiss on this
Mm-hmm.
series too.
Mm-hmm. The Mod Squad or
Yeah,
something?
Mod
Yeah,
Squad,
interesting.
yeah. similar to the one on Star Trek with William Shatner.
Uh-huh.
And I'm not saying it was necessarily romantic, but according to these notes right here, the studio was afraid that the show would get negative public reaction.
Mm-hmm.
And Aaron, I think his name was Aaron Spelling, the creator of The Love Boat.
Mm-hmm.
Well, before, this is like years before
Mm-hmm.
that. He was the creator of Mod Squad, a very young Aaron Spelling. And the studios were afraid that his show, The Mod Squad, was going to get negative public reaction with that kiss scene.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't.
Good.
Just like Gene Roddenberry's character.
Oh, yeah.
So it just goes to show you people are watching.
Yeah.
And executives on television are not necessarily always right.
Right.
When they put these shows together, they do things on their interpretation and
Yeah.
what they think. And then usually they get a different reaction.
Yeah.
So just a little
Mm-hmm.
trivia info there. Let's see, what else? I can get some other information here on the Mod Squad. It was just a cop show of its time. Very groundbreaking. Very,
Yeah, oh
very-
yeah.
As you can see with those topics, very
Uh-huh.
groundbreaking. Now, Alice in Wonderland obviously is not groundbreaking. It's
No,
Star
yeah,
Trek.
yeah.
But it was fun. And the
Mhm.
Star Trek episode, remember that one, Shore Leave?
Yes.
They were in Alice in Wonderland too. Well,
Yeah.
let me rephrase that. They weren't really in Alice
Yeah,
in Wonderland.
that just was he was thinking about it, and I
Right.
saw the rabbit and the little girl. Yeah, at the beginning, yeah.
What's interesting about that episode is if you just control your thoughts, you can relive anything on that shore leave.
Exactly.
That was it. So don't think about a tiger going to tear your skin off.
Exactly.
And in fact, they had an episode where, they had a scene on that episode where there was a guy thinking about a tiger.
Yes,
So
exactly.
he's holding his girlfriend,
Yes,
this
exactly.
big tiger, like, rah.
Yeah.
But that was an interesting episode. And
I
Doc
loved
McCoy
it.
just happened to be thinking about Alice in Wonderland. And
Yeah.
I think it was the rabbit.
Yeah, the
Not
rabbit
this one, the
came-
other one, the white rabbit.
Exactly, the
Excuse
white
me,
rabbit.
can you tell me what
Yep.
time it is? And he walks off, and then
Yeah.
Alice, have you seen my big white rabbit?
Yeah,
Dr. McCoy
Yeah.
points.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a fun episode.
That was.
That was just so fun.
Yeah, that was a. I'd love to go to a short-lived planet like that and just have good
Yeah,
thoughts
and
with
have
good
good thoughts,
memories
yeah,
and
good
good
memories,
thoughts,
yeah.
and or recreate new things that I'd wanted to do, and just maybe I'd probably bring some wine and some easy listening Gordon Lightfoot, but you probably envision a bottle of wine or some coffee, and it'd be there for you, and some cheese and whatever, and eat, drink whoever you wanted to, and a beautiful house would disappear, and you'd have everything you'd ever wanted.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think I'd ever want to leave. I don't think I'd ever want to leave. Who would want to leave? If you
Right.
can control your thoughts and everything perfectly handed to you the way you want life, wow, you'd never want to leave. You literally can create your own reality, even if a big, cabin, maybe lawn furniture, it's right there.
Right.
And that'd be wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
I'd have the time of my life there.
So, anyway, if you just control your thoughts, you can have fun.
Yes.
And Captain Kirk wanted to
Yeah.
beat up Finnegan. I think
Yes,
was
yes,
his
as a
name.
tormentor and
Because when
the academy.
they were at the academy, Kirk could never take him.
Yeah.
Because Finnegan was always smarter than Kirk, outwitting,
Mhm.
outfighting, out wrestling,
Yeah.
and all this. And finally, Captain Kirk gets the desire to beat the tar out of
Finnegan, yep. I doubt Finnegan probably ever graduated from Starfleet Academy. Someone
Who
like that
knows?
character, how could he possibly graduate from Starfleet Academy?
I don't
Always thought
know.
how could someone
It
be let
doesn't
into?
really say in the series.
Yeah,
but-
how they even got accepted in Starfleet Academy, with that kind of temperament,
Well, some people, with their temperament,
Mhm.
they're very smart. They're
That's true.
academically smart, and
Uh-huh.
that's probably how Finnegan got
Yeah.
into the academy there.
I don't think they wanted to really explain it. They just wanted
No,
to have that
they-
as a thing and explain
Yeah, but
it.
if you use your imagination, my
Yeah.
imagination would say that he graduated.
My imagination would say he's kicked out, or maybe was a very, very bad, crew member of some ship, and he probably got killed somewhere because he panicked, seeing some big creature, and like, oh, that's too big for me. I want to pick on
And
someone
we'll
little.
never know, but you can use your imagination. That's what's
Definitely.
fun about those.
Oh,
those
it's
kind of shows,
fascinating, yes.
It's just a lot of fun, stuff like that. Let's see, tell me if you know this song. You recognize it?
No.
I'll do it again. That's the intro. Here's a melody.
Nope.
Something like that.
I know they had a
stop there.
surrealist comedian called Ernie Kovacs, the Ernie Kovacs show back in the 70s.
This is called "She Loves You" by the Beatles.
Oh, okay.
You might recognize it.
Yeah,
now, but
I
it's
don't
really
listen to
good.
the Beatles, yeah, but
Oh, it's
Ernie
brilliant.
Kovacs was a surrealist artist in the 1970s. I liked to watch him as a kid. My family and I both did, and he was a surrealist artist who had all this strange stuff happening around him, and he had cooking skits, and he was kind of this middle-aged guy with a mustache and his very strange little spectacles. He was a very strange person, kind of funny, and all this weird stuff happening around him. I like the Ernie Kovacs show. Very interesting.
I've heard the name, but I'm not familiar with it. And you know, 40 minutes have already gone by. This is going pretty smooth.
Yeah.
I think the good Lord is answering our prayer there.
Yep.
Smooth show. Praise God for that. Now, getting back to Ernie Kovacs, for example, I don't know him, but they had a lot of interesting shows in that era. Probably too many. I don't know.
Yeah.
But you'll enjoy this Mod Squad getting back to this if it happens again.
Ernie Kovacs was one of those shows that lasted a couple of seasons and also
It did.
just fell off the cliff. No one will ever remember.
Well, it's like this show I'm talking about. It's just some shows, they hit their stride and all of a sudden they're just forgotten.
Yeah, yeah.
Charlie's Angels is another example.
Oh,
You
yeah.
remember Charlie's Angels?
I've heard...
It had a melody that went something like this.
Charlie's.
Yeah, it had a melody that went something like this.
Wasn't that in the 70s? Or was it the 80s?
70s.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. I'll do it again and see.
I've heard of Charlie's Angels. Wasn't that another cop show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that.
That's interesting.
But getting back to Charlie's Angels, the synopsis of that show, I was going to do a story on that, but I'll just talk about it here. There were 3 women that had graduated from the academy, and they were all 3 assigned menial tasks. One of them was a crossing guard for children. You see where I'm going with this. And the other one was like the secretary typist. And I forgot what the third one was. His it's just some little menial thing. Now where I'm going with this is that's the way it was portrayed, that women did these menial things instead of the tough man stuff. And so the Charlie Townsend, with the Townsend Agency, what's interesting about this character, you never see Charlie. All you see is this electronic box. And his voice comes out of the box, and he's the boss of the Angels. So he takes the Angels out of those menial jobs and puts them to work as female detectives. And that's interesting to me.
Yeah.
Think about that. He takes these female people that train in the academy, and they were beating up the guys in the training part when you see the film. But they wound up, because they're women, they wind up in this menial job. So Charlie takes them out and puts them to work with his agency, and they're out there solving crime and they're just knocking heads and catching bad guys and everything, which the police academy had failed to do simply because they were women. That's kind of ties in with what we're talking about.
Well, yeah,
a little bit
because
too.
I was thinking that would have been groundbreaking for that time.
It was. See, the Mod Squad was groundbreaking for its time, and I think Charlie's Angels was also groundbreaking in the fact that you have 3 females in the lead.
Yeah, because you see Law and Order SVU, Olivia Benson, is a detective, and she was that kind of way, but no one ever thought, oh, well, she's a woman, she can't be a detective.
But that's the way it was then in the late 60s and early 70s.
Yep.
That, women just could not do those things, or African-American actors could not lead. So that's why I brought that up.
Exactly, yeah.
And let's talk about Charlie's Angels. I'm going to have some fun. Farrah Fawcett was one of the main characters. She's the blonde hair actress. I don't know if you would know her or not.
I've heard of her.
Yeah, this goes before your time. Well, anyway, she's gonna probably be best remembered for her iconic swimsuit,
Mm-hmm.
and it was tastefully done
Mhm.
because that's the way they did things back then.
Mm-hmm.
And she had this really long hair,
Mm-hmm.
and she was wearing this like red, not a bikini, but just like the full body
Mm-hmm.
swimsuit that they
Yes.
wore at that time, and it became the #1 pinup poster of the '70s.
It wouldn't surprise me, yeah.
No, seriously.
Yeah, amazing, yeah.
She was a good-looking
Mm-hmm.
lady, Farrah Fawcett. And I had a piece of carpet. This is a true story. It was probably about, the TBI is about this big, you know, the carpet.
Mm-hmm.
And when you take and fluff the hairs going up, it's just carpet.
Mm-hmm.
No big deal. But when you fluff the hairs going down, it would have Farrah Fawcett's image in that bathing suit.
Amazing.
So that's what I had instead of the
Mhm.
poster. I had an actual piece of carpet. I wish I'd have kept that.
Yeah.
I wonder what that'd be worth today.
Yeah, yeah.
But it was a full body shot of Farrah Fawcett
Mhm.
in that iconic
Mhm.
red swimsuit. It was really tastefully done. the way they
Wonderful.
did it. I mean, and I think it was showcasing her hair, really. If
Mhm.
you think about it, she had really long, gorgeous blonde hair, Farrah Fawcett
Mhm.
at that time. And I think that's probably why that worked, because she was, well, they were all relatively young then, and in real life, playing these characters. And of course, Farrah Fawcett being as lovely as she was at that time, her hair. Oh, you got this lead female detective with those gorgeous blonde hair and what, blue eyes or whatever, and she just sobbing, crying,
Mm-hmm.
beating up bad guys and that sort of thing. And they would like do judo on these guys on that
Mhm.
show. They weren't like, you know, get the guys to do all the work and they're like going, no, they were like going toe to toe with these guys, flipping them over and arresting them and all kinds of fun things like that you do to bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that show is pretty much forgotten too.
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
Angels. I don't think anybody's going to remember that. I was reading how the critics didn't seem to think much of that show. They thought that it focused more on their sex appeal, as they call it, their good looks. And they were good-looking women. It was Kate Jackson. You probably don't know her.
No.
And Jacqueline Smith. Jacqueline Smith went on to have a clothing line, I believe. And the reason I say that is because in my clothing collection, I have an actual Jacqueline Smith hanger that has her name on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I take good care of it because that's a collector's item.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like this, like the Arnold Palmer, the Johnny Carson clothing wear. I
Mhm.
think she had her own clothing line too. So I
Mhm.
happen to have one of the hangers. Has her name Jacqueline Smith. But these ladies were very lovely ladies, and they must have had a lot of fun doing that. But Charlie's Angels, I think it was groundbreaking in its time
Mhm.
because of 3 female characters in the lead.
Yeah.
And, you know, I guess our culture started changing between I'd say mid-70s, early 80s.
Yeah, yeah.
Really, really changing
Yeah.
to what we have today. There was no political correctness at that time.
And I think it's changed for the worse, actually. I think it really has.
Probably, yeah. Well, that's just the sign of our time, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Because even though the 60s and, had the Vietnam War and the draft and a whole bunch of other stuff to deal with, it was a much more innocent time. TV was more innocent, the culture was more innocent, even though we had the hippie revolution. The 70s was more innocent, that kind of thing, and the TV was more innocent. It's just, I had my difficulties at child and everything, but it was just a much more innocent time.
We all do as a child, you know?
Mhm.
We all do. But
the culture was more innocent,
yeah, I think I would not want to grow up in this
nor
modern
would I.
era today.
Nor would I, yeah.
Because not only is the times changed, but we got the computer system,
Oh,
and
yeah.
iPhones and all that, and you need those things to keep up. That's
Yeah.
considered normal.
Yeah.
You know, when I was in high school, there was no such thing as cell phones.
Same here. Or computers, or anything
They didn't
like
have
that.
computers when I
Nope.
was in high school. And the computers they had was these big towers.
Yes,
clumsy
yes.
computers that you might see in a library. And
Yeah.
It took like forever to work. It's amazing how advanced the technology has gone.
People just had line phones, or
First they had the kind that
Rotary, yeah.
rotary, like you look at those old
Yes.
Perry Mason
Yep,
movies,
yep.
and they like and I guess kids watching this episode, they're not going to know. They had what was called a rotary phone that you literally
Dial the number.
dial the number. Like you put your finger on
yes.
number 7 and spin it.
Yes.
That was so outdated.
Yeah.
And then they came up with those
The ones with the buttons, touch tone, well, yeah.
touch tone
Yes.
phones, and even that's way outdated because now
Yeah.
you can just take your phone everywhere you go. You don't even need a landline anymore.
Exactly.
And then you see a car accident or something, everybody's like flipping their
Yeah.
phones or filming it
Yeah.
instantly. And you know, there's nothing wrong with that if
Yes.
it's used properly.
Right.
Like anything else, when you have a good invention,
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing wrong.
Yeah.
It depends on how you use it.
Even with the television, you know, and radio,
How
yeah.
you use it. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you use those conveniences for good, then
Mhm.
a lot of good things can happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I see it. And boy, we got about 10 minutes left.
I think one of the best things, ironically, for inventions was the refrigerator.
Yeah.
We used to have ice boxes. Even an old priest friend of mine who passed away talked about in the summer, if you wanted to keep meat, you had an ice box where you kept like your steak or your meat in the summertime, and it was filled with ice. But oftentimes you'd get bad ptomaine poisoning flu from bad meat that went bad.
Well, you know, in the old days before the freezer method, they used to use salt
Yes.
and ferment
Yes.
the meat to help
Yes.
keep it from decaying quicker. But we have the freezing units now, so they can last a lot longer.
That's the good thing. You don't
Absolutely.
have much ptomaine poisoning. You still get it, but you can keep, you know, TV dinner, you know, in an ice bucket or whatever, and you won't get sick. I mean, if we went to the
Right.
Middle Ages back to time today
Mhm.
and ate at the king's table, we'd be so sick, you know, because of all that bacteria, we'd be dying, you know.
Yeah. Well, for such a time as this,
Yeah.
you and I were just placed in this time period.
Yes, we were, yeah.
By the sovereign God's
Mhm.
decree or whatever
Yeah.
you want to call it. He just said, okay, we're going to put Asaph and Emmett in this time period
Yep.
here. I wouldn't want to live in any other time period.
Nor would I.
And I don't think I'd want to live in the future as far as, say, 50 years from now.
No, nor would I.
You and I will be gone probably most likely
Mhm.
by then, but you know what I'm saying. That no,
Exactly.
if Christ doesn't return 50 years
Yeah.
from now, no telling what this culture
Oh,
will
yeah,
be
definitely.
at that time. It's hard to imagine.
Yeah.
Probably, it's just really hard to imagine what that'd be like.
Mm-hmm.
We got about 5 minutes left. This just went by. And what I liked about this episode, it was just there was a freshness about it.
Yeah,
to me.
yes.
To
Exactly.
cover
Some new topics.
Yeah, newer topics.
Mm-hmm.
But like anything else, you peak and then you're forgotten.
Yeah, exactly.
Peak and you're forgotten. So, you got any?
Ironically, Gilligan's Island was not forgotten. It kept on reruns for a long time.
I think Gilligan's Island will be on television throughout
Mhm.
television history.
It will be.
That came out in the 60s too,
Mhm.
if you think about it. But it just didn't have that hippies flair.
Yeah.
Here's a piece of trivia. The actor, Bob Denver, who
Uh-huh.
played Gilligan. Do you know what his television show was before Gilligan's Island?
Don't remember.
He played a beatnik
Mm.
character, a hippie character named Maynard. Crabtree, I think. was his
Interesting.
name. Well, Maynard. They called him
Mhm.
Maynard. And it was on a show called Dobie Gillis.
Mm-hmm.
And he was very young. He played this beatnik, hippie kind of character
Uh-huh.
on that show against Dobie Gillis, who was your conservative, Wally
Mm-hmm.
Cleaver type. And it was a funny show.
Yeah.
And they were high school kids.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah, the beatniks were before the hippies, from the little I know.
Yeah.
They were just the precursors to the hippies. They weren't as radical, but just, you know,
No, they were
just wanted to have a
didn't
good
want to
time.
work. They just want to just have fun and not
Yeah.
job or take life serious. But no, where I'm going with that is Bob Denver was very funny in that series.
Mhm.
If you ever get, it's called Dobie Gillis. If you ever get to see it, maybe they'll show it on MeTV sometime.
Interesting.
It was just the funniest show,
Mm-hmm.
and I think Bob Denver was just
Oh,
perfect
yeah.
for that role. You think Gilligan's funny?
Yeah.
I think he was funnier on Dobie Gillis.
Amazing, amazing.
I really do, and it wasn't the thing where the beatnik character would keep people from not being rescued. It wasn't that premise. They were just in high school. They were all in high school.
Yep.
So it dealt with that. You know what goes on in high school.
Yeah.
And Denver's character was always getting in trouble on that show too. Tame stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
Just
interesting.
Like trying to hide from a girlfriend or some kind of
Yeah.
light thing like that. But that was the sign of the time. Just
Mhm.
it was just a fun show. Dobie Gillis.
Interesting.
But of course,
Mhm.
I think that whole generation on Gilligan's Island is gone. And so,
Yeah.
even though Bob Denver's done a lot of stuff besides Gilligan's Island, I think that's what he's going to probably be
Oh,
best
yeah.
remembered for at this point.
Even in the 80s, the person who played Mr. Howell, he passed away because they did, on Alf,
Yeah.
they had retrospect to, Gilligan's Island, but they couldn't show Mr. Howell's character. He had already passed on, so they talked
Right.
about other Howells briefly, but they didn't, have
Yeah, I know. They can't show those characters once they're not here anymore.
Exactly.
Stuff like that. But Gilligan's Island and all those shows on
Oh,
YouTube,
yeah,
they're
definitely.
all a lot of fun shows. And
Yeah.
stuff like that. So they all tie in with
Oh, yeah.
Mod Squad and the
Oh,
60s
yeah.
era. You got any final words you want to say?
I've run out of surreal jokes, so I can't
That's
think
okay.
of it yet.
Well, that's fine. Well, let's make some acknowledgments here. Once again, we're on the set of Alice in Wonderland. We covered the 60s era.
Mhm.
Of course, Alice in Wonderland didn't come out in the 60s.
No.
That was a perfect backdrop for
Yes.
it. So I am your host, Asaph Adonai. I hope you guys had a fun Valentine's Day the day before, because today is the 15th.
Mhm.
And today's my anniversary. February 15th. It was 4 years ago this very day I moved into my apartment.
Wonderful.
4 years
Congratulations.
ago,
A great
yeah.
one. I've been there. It's a great one. Yep.
Yeah, February 15th. And we did a cafe in my home, too.
I remember that. Yeah.
That was fun. Anyway, I'm your host, Asaph Adonai, and thanks for sitting in with me because I needed to record a show.
Certainly.
Affectionately on my left, our aging rocker, Emmett. And I guess if that's it,
Yep, that's it.
until our next show, Maranatha. Thanks for the secret ingredient.
Mhm.
Just make yourself at home,
Certainly.
everything down, and we'll talk.
Mm-hmm.